What's wrong with Carlos Alcaraz? Well, I can tell you there's nothing wrong with Carlos Alcaraz, but there is something wrong with the unrealistic expectations that the media and coaches and the general public have put on him. See, I remember vividly when I made my rant after Alcaraz beat Djokovic in the Wimbledon final, and I titled my video, "Djokovic Should Have Won." There was such a media hype around Alcaraz. People were saying that he's going to win 30 slams, that he's better than Nadal, Djokovic, and Federer. He's a combination of all three. Of course, it didn't help that Djokovic said this in the press conference. I watched that match and I expressed my honest opinion that Djokovic should have won that match because he missed easy opportunities. Now, I'm not taking anything away from Alcaraz. He's an unbelievable player. But you have to put into perspective the achievements of Nadal, Federer, and Djokovic. I don't think that we're going to see achievements like that in the next 100 years or longer. So how many tournaments has Carlos Alcaraz won since Wimbledon? 0. You have to realize how difficult it is to win a tournament, never mind a Grand Slam. And the reason why I say there's nothing wrong with Alcaraz is because he's been playing good tennis. He's ranked number 2 in the world. After winning the Wimbledon championships, he was in the semifinals of the US Open. He also reached the final of Cincinnati prior to the US Open. He had a couple of patchy results in the indoor season in Shanghai and in Paris, and then he reached the semis of the World Tour Finals, and he just lost to Alex Zverev in a 4-set thriller in the quarterfinals of the Australian Open. So these are good results. He's playing good tennis. And of course, the same people that were hyping him up after he won Wimbledon, now they're saying that he's no good, he's a showman, he'll never achieve the results of the big three, and so on. Now, I want to remind you guys that a lot of great players go through ups and downs throughout the season. And Alcaraz is going through normal ups and downs that every top player is going through. Do you remember what happened to Pete Sampras after he won his first US Open? He had a tough time replicating that result and was going through some patchy spots before starting to play better again a couple of years later. Now, I have seen Carlos Alcaraz's form improve in the World Tour Finals. He did play some good matches there. And of course, he did not play a warm-up tournament prior to the Australian Open. And I was super impressed with his round of 16 win against Kecmanovic. And also, after getting blown out in the first 2 sets against Zverev, being down 5-2 in the third, he fought back, playing unbelievable tennis. And then in the tiebreak, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend that you watch the third set tiebreak where Alcaraz was hitting one spectacular passing shot after the next. In the fourth set, Zverev won a clutch game, down 3-4. If Zverev would have lost that game and got broken, Alcaraz would have had great chances to win that match. But Zverev held his serve, broke at 4-all, and then held serve at 5-4 to win the match in 4 sets. Now, I'm going to talk about Zverev towards the end of the video, so stay tuned. But I want to tell you that while I think that there's nothing wrong with Alcaraz right now, I do think he's going to have a good season. He's going to have great chances in every tournament that he steps foot in. The French Open, Wimbledon, the US Open, he's got chances to win all those tournaments and all the big tournaments that are in between the slams as well. But there are 2 things that worried me a little bit about Alcaraz. Number 1, I was worried with his goal setting towards the end of last year. When he was in Paris, he was talking about wanting to finish 1 round ahead of Djokovic because he wanted to finish the year ranked number 1. And what happened was that he lost his first match in straight sets to Safiullin. So that's one of the classic mental traps that players fall into when they look too far ahead in the draw and they don't concentrate on the next match, because fact is the level on the ATP Tour is sky high and you have to respect and take seriously every single opponent that you face. Also, they asked Alcaraz during one of those on-court interviews whether he hits shots for the crowd, and Alcaraz answered yes. Now, I don't know if he was joking or not, but if he was not joking, this is a big concern for me, because ultimately when you are hitting shots for the crowd, these are going to be low percentage type shots. And when you play low percentage type shots, you're going to make a lot of errors. And ultimately, you're going to lose some matches that you shouldn't have. So you're probably thinking, Nick, how do you know about crowds? You never played in front of one. Well, it doesn't matter if you play in front of 50 people or 15,000 people. I know what it's like to play for the crowd, so to speak. What you end up doing is attempting jumping overheads a la Sampras, or going between the legs, or trying to hit spectacular winners down the line. And this is what I'm talking about when I say low percentage shots. The likelihood of missing on those type of balls is much higher than when you attempt a high percentage shot. So as I said in some of my previous videos when I talked about Alcaraz, he's my favorite player from all the young guys. I enjoy watching him play, like many of you guys, I'm sure, and it's a blessing that we have Alcaraz on the tour right now. But again, the media and what people say on social media, including coaches who were predicting Alcaraz to be the next GOAT, this is quite toxic, and I hope that Alcaraz is shielded from this, because I do think that this type of expectations can affect a player negatively. Now let's talk about Zverev. And I remember when he rolled his ankle in 2022 against Rafael Nadal in the semifinals of the French Open. He had a legitimate chance to beat a top form Nadal on clay and Roland Garros. He rolled his ankle in the second set tiebreak. At that particular moment, Zverev was playing top 3 tennis. And if you look at Zverev's career, he's won some really big tournaments, beating the GOATs. He's got 5 Masters Series titles under his belt, and he also won the World Tour Finals twice, and he won the gold medal at the Olympics. So we're talking about a high caliber player capable of making big results. Of course, what a lot of people remember from Zverev is losing at the US Open final against Thiem, where Zverev played a poor match, and in fact Thiem played a poor match as well. So I do think that that particular match had a negative mental effect on Zverev when he was playing in Grand Slam tournaments. Now, when Zverev came back from his ankle injury, it took him much longer to get back to the top than I expected. And if you watch one of my rants early this year, I talked about getting extremely valuable wins at the United Cup. No, he wasn't playing his best tennis, but he was winning matches that were super tight, which is the most valuable thing for a player that's looking for confidence. And even in the Australian Open, he had some real battles, for example, beating Klein 7-6 in the 5th. And the result of coming through all these adversities when you are a top player like Zverev is that you are in the quarterfinal, you're playing against number 2 player in the world, Alcaraz, and you're winning 6-1, 6-3, 5-2, playing some of the best tennis you've ever played. And that's the crazy thing about tennis, it's truly a game of confidence. Now looking ahead, in the draw, Medvedev came through a tough match against Hurkacz, and it's going to be a super tight match between Zverev and Medvedev. It's 50-50. I'm leaning a little bit more towards Zverev. And of course, we have that blockbuster semifinal, Djokovic against Sinner. Now, many people will say that that is the final now, but I do think that we can't underestimate Zverev or Medvedev, who are going to be so pumped to get a Grand Slam title. For Medvedev, he's realizing now something that was said by other legends such as Safin, that it's much tougher to win your second Grand Slam than it is to win your first one. And for Zverev, this would complete his career. He's already a top player. The only thing that's missing in his resume is that Grand Slam title.